Right, so this is the CAT from 2015, day 1, question 1, starting with an expanding question. So x times 4x squared minus 5x plus 8x minus 10 would be step 1. Now we're collecting like terms. So I can see that this is a minus 5x plus 8x. So starting at negative 5, adding on 8 would take us to plus 3x minus 10. Okay, part B, give the x coordinates of the points where the graph cuts the x-axis. So you need to have a little bit of knowledge about graphs, in particular quadratic graphs. It might help you to expand those brackets. So you can see that in fact we've got the x squared term, the highest power, so this is a quadratic graph which will give me a parabola. Depending on your knowledge of parabolas, a parabola looks like that when it's a positive parabola with a positive x squared term. And finding out where it cuts the x-axis would be where the y coordinate would be 0. So just have a think about that. Wherever it cuts along the x-axis, the y-coordinate will be 0. So actually what we're doing is we want to solve x plus 3 equals 0. What values of x can I substitute into the left-hand side here and end up with 0? Well, I can see that x equals 0 would be one possibility, and the other possibility would be x equals negative 3 from the bracket. So my x-intercepts, one is at 0, oops, one is down here at negative 3, so the parabola actually looks like that. Now it says give the x coordinates, so I've done that, x equals 0 or x equals negative 3. If you're a bit rusty on that, you might need to do some revision on parabolas and in particular graphs of quadratics. Okay, part C, you can pause and read the question for yourself, have a go at it yourself if you like, and then follow along and see if you were right. $8 for 2 hours, $3 for each extra hour. The ride cost $23. How long did Rani hire the bike? Well, we'll let x equal the number of hours that the bike was hired for. So the first 2 hours it was $8 plus $3 for each hour over the 2. So take off the 2, I've used h and I meant to use x, and altogether that comes to $23. So we've got an equation to solve. We'll expand this out first. 8 minus 6 is 2. We can minus off the 2 from both sides. And I can see that x is 7. 3 times 7 is 21. So x is going to equal 7. So Rani hired the bike for 7 hours. And you could just check that because the first 2 hours would be a cost of $8. That leaves 5 hours, costing it 3. 5 times 3 is 15 plus 8 is 23. It works. Right, part D is simplifying some algebra. It looks a bit complicated. We'll look for some like terms on the top line. I've got a term with ab squared, a cubed b, and there's another ab squared there. So there's two like terms. 3ab squared plus 1 would be 4ab squared. Now what we'll do at this stage, because I can see some things are going to cancel, but we need to have some factors before we can do cancelling. So we'll have a go at factorising that top line there, because I can see there's some common factors, a 4, an a, and a b. And that leaves me in the first term with a b, and an a squared in the second term. Just check that. If we were to re-expand that, we'd get a 4 a b squared term, and then we'd get a minus 4 a cubed b term, yeah, that's correct, all over 4ab squared. Now since we have some factors, we can do some cancelling. Cancel out the 4 and the a, 1b from there and 1b from there. So I'm left with b minus a squared all over b. So just check that before you rush on and make sure there's no more cancelling to do. We can't cancel out the b's now because of the subtraction in between. I don't have any factors. We can only cancel top and bottom. Divide out when we have factors. Right, next page. Now we're on to a couple of tricky questions, especially this question E here. 8 kilometres from each other, so let's just draw a wee diagram and think about that. 8 kilometres, so I'll put Sam here and Jake here. Sam skateboards 10k in the same time as Jake rides his bike 15k. So if we're talking about speeds, Sam can do 10k in the same time as Jake can do 15. Now there's a ratio implied in here. I can see that both numbers divide by 5. We could simplify that ratio to 2 to 3. So Jake's actually faster. Both leave home at the same time and travel towards each other. How far from Jake's home will they meet? So travelling towards each other, remember Jake goes faster, so there's going to be some stage where they both meet. At that stage Sam would have gone x kilometres and Jake would have gone 8 minus x kilometres, and that's where they'll meet. Now we do know that their speeds are in the ratio 2 to 3, so a nice way to do this problem, 2 to 3, this is Sam and this is Jake. Sam would have gone x and Jake would have gone 8 minus x. Now what you need to know about that is now I'm not sure how you work out your ratios, but it's really helpful to know that multiplying on the diagonal equal each other. So 3 times x is 3x, which should be exactly the same as 2 times 8 minus x, and there's my equation that I can solve using some algebra. So expanding the bracket first, now I would add 2x to both sides, which will give me 5x equals 16, and dividing both sides by 5, x equals 16 divided by 5. No calculators, we need to do a bit of numeracy in our heads, so 5 into 16 goes 3 times, remainder 1, 3 and 1/5. It's helpful if you know that 1/5 is 0.2, 0.2. So Sam will have gone 3.2 kilometres and Jake would have gone 8 minus 3.2. So 8 take away 3 would be 5, and taken away another 0.2 would be 4.8 kilometres. Let's just check the question. How far from Jake's home will they meet? So they will meet 4.8 kilometres from Jake's home. It's quite a difficult question. You need to have a bit of knowledge of ratio and how ratios work. Right, last one on question 1. A value for C. You can pause and read the question if you like. Have a go. X squared plus 6x plus c equals 0 has only one solution for x, so we need to think about what that means. So if I was solving x squared plus 6x plus something equals 0, I'm going to get x equals, and I'm just going to get one number. So usually when that happens, what that means is that in the brackets the same number is repeated. So, and then obviously my solution would be x equals negative a. That's normally what it looks like when we get one solution from a quadratic. So we need to think about what number could be repeated, and that will help us find the constant term on the end of the quadratic. Now obviously if they add together to give 6x, we could make it x plus 3, x plus 3. And let's think about that. Then the solution would be x equals negative 3. But what they actually want us to find is the c, the term on the end. So a quick bit of expanding just to check what you get. X squared plus 6x plus 9. So c equals 9 would make sure we only got one solution to the equation.